So what did I like about the passage? I like how Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath. And he begins to help us understand that the way in which human beings have tried to interpret the Sabbath and interpret the Lord's day of rest is not quite exactly the way in which he intended it to be. And so we need to pay close attention. And this is connected with the previous chapter where it says that he wants to give you rest from being heavy laden from the burdens of unnecessary precepts that are, or unwarranted precepts that were never intended by God. The children of Israel had put all kinds of laws, and they still exist today even, laws to keep people from breaking God's laws. They kind of built a protective barrier of human law around God's law so that maybe you might break a human law, but you wouldn't break one of God's laws. And Jesus here is showing that none of those human laws really are beneficial. They don't need to exist. That God's law is sufficient in itself, and we need to know what that is. And sometimes when we have human law mixed with God's law, it can get confusing, and it can be a burden. It can be heavy laden. And even further than that, it keeps good things from being acted upon. It keeps good from happening on the day of Sabbath. So this is an interesting chapter and one that we can really pay attention to. What do I not like or not understand? Well, I don't understand the Sabbath enough. I think we could spend weeks and weeks digging deeply into what did God mean by the Sabbath? What does he mean by rest? And what is it that we actually do on the Sabbath? Because it looks like Jesus keeps living and he keeps touching people's lives and he keeps bringing about good. Yet somehow the Sabbath is rest. And so there's something that we don't understand about rest, something that I don't understand about rest that I want to know more about. What does this chapter say about God? Well, this chapter really drives home the understanding that there is a vast chasm between holy understanding and human understanding. And we don't understand the Sabbath. We don't understand his intent of the Sabbath and how to carry it out. And we also really don't understand his plan. Here, we kind of gain some of the answers to at least one answer to the question that I had about why does Jesus tell them not to say a word when he does some of these miracles. And he kind of answers that. It says that that it was spoken through the prophet Isaiah, and that it might be fulfilled that, behold, my servant whom I have chosen, my beloved in whom my soul will be pleased, I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall proclaim justice to the Gentiles. There is something about the Gentiles and even bringing justice to the Gentiles and even the word of God to the Gentiles that has something to do with why Jesus told them not to tell. So I'm not sure exactly all of the pieces to the puzzle, but it has to do a lot with the world knowing, beyond the Jewish nation knowing who God is and what his plan of salvation is. What does this say about man? Well, this says about man that we have a tendency not to seek God in his understanding and carrying out the things that he says to do. That we tend to jump ahead and even make laws and even make up precepts that we think are in accordance to his law, which actually aren't. So this by faith way of living really is a lot trickier than we thought. And we think we can whittle it down to just applying rules to our lives when it really has a whole lot more to do with relating. So it just shows how difficult it is for man to relate to God and even to each other, that we have a tendency to want to choose just a stagnant law over really relating and depending and seeking in order to know how to live. How do I apply this to me? Well, how do I apply this to me? I'm even more convicted about the time that I spend in his word. The time that I spend in his word just seeking him for understanding and even processing the words that he's speaking to me. Just constantly keeping in mind that I need him. I need his word. I need to know what he says about his word. And I want my understanding to be corrected to his understanding, not continually trying to work things out on my own or figure out things based on my own understanding, or even praying in accordance to things that I hope will work out my way. And really seeking his will and his understanding each day in order to arrive at the conclusions that he has and the ways in which he intended me to live in a healthy way according to his word. Who am I going to tell? Well, I think these times that we're living in, this time of Corona, has shown us that we really don't have as much control as we think we did. We may make plans and they may or may not happen. And tomorrow, we have no assurance of what in the world we're going to be facing. But we have a way of seeking the one who does, the one who knows, the one who is outside of Corona, the one who is Lord of the Sabbath, the one who is Lord of the world, that knows the plan, that has the plan that's unchanging and unfazed by Corona, is able to meet with us, and we are able to meet with him and seek what is good and what is right and what is just and what is healthy and what is upright for our families and for our society. And so I feel encouraged now more than ever that we have God with us, who is willing to meet with us and guide us. And I want to tell people about that. I want them to have the hope of Jesus Christ this Christmas. I'm so thankful that we've been spending time with him each day so we can truly understand more accurately what in the world happens in the kingdom of heaven, and how can we make those things happen on earth? How can we seek him each day in order to get our marching orders for what can be carried out here on earth as it is in heaven? Thank you for joining me again. I'm so grateful to be with you each day, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow.